Shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High who's ahead of my life. Also to Christ the King. May His rule and reign be forever. So y'all, let me get this situated. All praises to the Most High. Let me cut this down. I got a few people that I gotta tag in this video. Sorry, y'all. I just got a few people I gotta tag. I'm just tagging people real fast, and then I can get this on the way. It's one more brother I had to tag. Let me try to find his name real fast. Okay. Might not got that brother. It was one more. I know it's a lot of people that I'm tagging y'all, but alright. That should be enough right now. Alright, well, people are not gonna want to hear today because let me get to me. Let me try to get to me real fast. Shalom, thanks everybody for listening in. I don't know if my post is gonna fall or not. I just don't know. But what a lot of people don't like hearing today, this is what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about the culture of the Bible in its historical context. Sorry, y'all. In its historical context. And we're going to actually go through the mind. We're going to try to go inside of the mind of our forefathers, which will be the ancient Israelites, not the ones that I'm not going to really concentrate more on Second Temple Israelites. I'm going to concentrate on the First Temple Israelites, the one who actually got everything. But we're going to hit a little of the Second Temple Israelites also. But I want to talk in context of the historical mindset of the Eastern people, our counterparts. And we're going to see how disconnected we have became as a people, as a civilization, away from our Eastern roots in order to try to westernize the Bible and westernize the culture. For my people who claim to keep the Israelite culture and the stance and the customs, but they fall short in trying to keep it from an American lens or a Western mindset. So, like it or not, we're going to go through some of the misunderstandings. And one of the things that I wanted to discuss, because I can, and it's one of the things y'all know I'm pro polygyny, I want to actually discuss polygyny and actually what the Bible actually teaches, as well as what history teaches, because our people, for some reason, we don't understand the history's aspect of the Israelites. We feel like that the Bible, in 66 books or 88 books, we feel like the Bible itself is the whole historical background of the Israelites, which is impossible. Israel was in power. It was growing for thousands of years. And the Bible is more like a synopsis of covenants. It has nothing to do with mainly with the everyday lifestyle of Israel. It just sums up the Israelites' customs and cultures dealing with the covenants. So we're going to actually go into some of the history that the Israelites actually lived, that is found, and it actually goes with the Bible. Because if you don't know the background, you don't know what's happening in the background, and you think that you're getting the full understanding of what Israel went through with just the Bible, then you already are lost. Your understanding is not the understanding that the Israelites back in the days had, because they actually lived the culture. We're only reading the culture that they're living, and we're trying to adhere to what we read. But in order to understand it on a deeper level, you have to do some research and go inside the Bible, inside of other historical documents, and actually read how the culture functioned and etc. So this is what we're going to do today. Probably going to bore some people, maybe not, I don't know. But we're going to try to go deep inside of it. So first thing first, I'm going to talk about polygyny, because everybody wants to, all my Americans that's against it, they want to use their mindset in order to combat polygyny. They're going to try to use all kind of Western ideology in order to combat why polygyny is wrong and how the Most High never wanted polygyny in the beginning. So we're going to do what they do, but we're going to do it in context. And if you do not know, let me get to here's my YouTube channel, AOSD. I guess I could go to my first channel. Here's my YouTube channel, AOSD Chandler. It stands for the Assembly of Sound Doctrine Chandler. Add me on YouTube. Please subscribe. So now we can get off of that. Let's go into scripture. So what do people want to do first? Okay, this is what they do first. They run to Genesis, right? And then they go to 2, right? And it says the creation of man and woman. And this is exactly how they do it right here. They say, see, look, right here. Let's find it real fast. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. We're at Genesis 22. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. And he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman and brought her into the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. So now, people will say, look, right here in Genesis, you have the Most High creating Adam and Eve. So the beginning, the way he wanted marriage was one man and one woman. Okay, that's a very fantastic, great, westernized breakdown indeed, brothers and sisters. Built off of an understanding from the Grecians and the Romans dealing with monogamy. That is a great, great, great breakdown if you're going to look at it from the Western mindset. But now, if we're going to actually take the Bible for what it says from the Eastern perspective, first of all, we're going to read what it says again, and then we're going to actually go through some of the Eastern mindset. Like I said, we got to actually dig. So now, first of all, let's concentrate on verse number 23. And Adam said, so off top, we're reading the Bible from this Genesis account from the point of view of which Moses is given a commentary on what occurred in the beginning when mankind was created. So this is a commentary, okay? This isn't a direct quote This is a commentary. Moses is giving a synopsis on how they thought as the Israelites, because this is Israel-centered, on how Israel became a people. From the Israelite perspective, this is how, from one perspective, this is how it all started. So, of course, it had to be passed down information from oral tradition. How would Moses actually know what Adam said if this was not passed down information? Moses was not there to hear Adam say it. So he's just giving his point of view, or from his perspective, on how things created and how Israel became a people. It started with his perspective of Genesis. Okay, so it says, and Adam said, what did Adam say? This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of a man. Therefore shall a man leave his father. This is not Moses saying Adam said this. Adam said this up here. This is what Adam said, okay? We have plenty commentary when Adam was talking, okay? Throughout Genesis, it lets you know when Adam is speaking, okay? So this is not Adam. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother. This is not Adam. This is Moses giving his commentary on what this means. What does it mean that woman came out of man? This is Moses' rebuttal to what Adam said. So this is Moses' point of view. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. So now, Adam is talking about marriage. I'm sorry, not Adam. Moses is talking about marriage right here, right? He's talking about covenant. He's talking about marriage. This is not Adam saying, therefore shall a man, because Adam and Eve were just created. So how could Adam and Eve know anything about a father and a mother and a wife and them becoming one flesh? How would Adam off top know about sex? So you're trying to say that as soon as Eve was created, Adam was talking about sex. As soon as she was created, he'd pop up and say, hey, we're going to have sex, and this is what everybody throughout the whole history of humanity is supposed to do. A woman is supposed to sleep with a man, and they're supposed to become one flesh. No, Adam is not talking about sex. Adam he probably was still hurting from the surgery, but that's just my perspective. But right here, Moses is explaining what Adam's statement means. Okay? Once again, this is a commentary from Moses. Moses is doing the explaining, okay? So this is how Moses is explaining what Adam's statement meant. So now, this is Moses giving his recollection of what happened in the beginning. This is what people don't want you to understand or know. This is when they fall short of understanding the Eastern culture. Let's venture off and let's go somewhere else. Sorry, y'all. As I figured one of my posters failed. It's probably going to do that all day. And I'm going to keep putting it on there all day. So, and I'll find a better way to do it later. Right now, I'm more concentrating on this. Alright, so now, let's go to the book of Jasher now, right? One of the older translations, I forgot when it was created, is before our timeline. But let's just go to the creation of with Jasher, right? Let's see what Jasher says. Jasher 1. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and God created man in his own image, right? But let's keep going down. It says, and the Lord caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took away one of his ribs, and he built flesh upon it, and formed it, and brought it to Adam. And Adam awoke from his sleep, and behold, a woman was standing before him. And he said, this is a bone of my bones, and it shall be called woman, for this has been taken from man. And Adam called her name Eve, for she is the mother of all living. And God blessed them and called their names Adam and Eve in the day that he created them. And the Lord God said, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. So you already see, it don't say nothing about this is the reason and one man is supposed to be one flesh with the woman and all that. They left that part out in the book of Joshua. But we're going to find out just why in just a second. I just want to keep going down. Verse 12, and the Lord drove them from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which they were taken. And they went and dwelled in the east of the Garden of Eden. And Adam knew his wife, and she bore 2 sons and 3 daughters. Okay? So now, let's go to the book of Jubilees. Let's go to the book of Jubilees now. Chapter 3. And in the 6th day of the 2nd Sabbath, we brought by the command of the Lord to Adam all the animals. Let's see here. Adam made them. Let's go to 4 right here. And the Lord our God caused a stupor to fall upon him, and he slept. And he took for a wife 1 rib from amongst his ribs, and this rib was made into a woman from amongst his ribs, and he built flesh there in its place and built a woman. And he awakened Adam out of his sleep. And the awakening, he arose on the 6th day and came to her and knew her and said unto her, this is now bone of my bone and flesh from my flesh. This one shall be called my wife, for she came and originated from man. For this reason, man and wife shall be one. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and his mother and will connect himself with his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Right? We got that. All right, so let's keep reading. And I completed right here, verse 8. And when Adam had completed 40 days in the land where he had been created, we brought him into the Garden of Eden, that he should work it and watch it. But his wife they brought on the 8th day, after this she entered the garden, and out on this account is written on the tablets of heaven in reference that she to her that gives birth, that if she brings forth the male, blah blah blah. I'm not trying to get there. Let's see here. He labored naked. That's not what I'm. You'll see what I'm getting to in just a second. And offered Adam came to the garden, breathed clothes, eating flesh. All right, here we go right here. Chapter 4. Sorry, y'all. And in the 3rd week of the 2nd Jubilee, she gave birth to Cain. And in the 4th, she gave birth to Abel. And in the 5th, she gave birth to her daughter, Awan. And in the 1st week of the 3rd Jubilee, Cain slew Abel because God accepted an offering from, for God accepted an offering from his hands, but did not receive a fruit offering from the hand of Cain. So we have right here that Eve gave birth to Cain, Abel, and then a daughter, Awan. So now, hold on. We have something called the Legend of Jews. In fact, let me show you what this is. The Legend of Jews. Sorry, y'all. I read. It says this is the Legend of Jews by Louis Ginsburg, 1909. This is a massive collation of the Haggadah, the traditions which have grown up surrounding the biblical narrative. These stories and bits of layered details are scattered throughout the Talmud, the Mishras, and other sources, including oral. In the 19th century, Ginsberg undertook the task of arranging the Haggadah into chronological order, and this series of volumes was the result. So, what this is a collection of old legends that the Israelites had. So, on page 65, dealing with the creation of woman, let me tell you exactly, I'm going to start at the second paragraph. The divine resolution to bestow a companion on Adam, so this is Adam getting a companion, met the wishes of man, who had been overcome by a feeling of isolation when the animals came to him and passed to be named. To banish his loneliness, Lilith was first given to Adam as wife. This is an old Jew um, um, ideology or myth. To banish his loneliness, Lilith was first given to Adam as wife. Like him, she had been created out of the dust of the ground, but she remained with him only a short time because she insisted upon enjoying full equality with her husband. She derived her rights from their identical origin, so she wanted to be on equal levels with Adam. With the help of the infallible name, which she pronounced, Lilith flew away from Adam and vanished in the air. Adam complained before God that the wife he had given him had deserted him, and God sent for 3 angels to capture her. Let me skip down, but Lilith preferred, they found her in the Red Sea, and they sought to make her go back with the threat that unless she went, she would lose 100 of her demon children daily by death. But Lilith preferred this punishment to living with Adam. She takes her revenge by injuring baby boys during the first night of their life. But let's keep reading. Page 66, first paragraph. The woman destined to become the true companion of man was taken from Adam's body. For only when like is joined unto like, the unison is indissoluble. The creation of woman from man was possible because Adam originally had 2 faces, which was separated at the birth of Eve. When God was on the point of making Eve, he said, I would not make her from the head of man, lest she carry her head high in arrogant pride. Not from the eye, lest she be wanted eye. Not from the ear, lest she be an eavesdropper. Not from the neck, lest she be insolent. Not from the mouth, lest she be a tattler. Not from the heart, lest she be inclined to envy. Not from the hand, lest she be a meddler. Not from the foot, lest she be a gadabout. I will form her from a chaste portion of the body, and to every limb and organs as he formed it, God said, be chaste, be chaste. Nevertheless, in spite of the great caution used, woman has all the faults God tried to obviate. But anyway, so this right here, in this oral tradition or oral story, we see that Adam was said to have 2 wives. One was Lilith, and the other one was Eve. So what I'm getting here is to show you that in context, and how you doing, Demetrius? What I'm doing to show you in context, the Genesis account was mythology, okay? In different points of the Israelite culture, they had different ways of saying how mankind came about, okay? It is in fact that Adam and Eve, the story, was a myth, okay? This group of people had their own Adam and Eve account. This group of people had their own Adam and Eve account. And it was just an account telling how their civilization came to be from the beginning. So, Adam and Eve was just a myth. It's shown throughout history that the Israelites believed several different things on how they came to be a nation. They always added and subtracted from their understanding on how they came to be a nation. So, you cannot jump to a myth and try to, and some myths are based upon facts, which I believe is based upon facts, but you cannot jump to a myth and try to explain how the Most High wanted things using a myth. Okay? You can't do that. So now, let's let somebody who actually was a Jew, who actually was a priest, who actually lived in the Second Temple, who actually did the culture and the customs of Israel. Not an American, okay? Not a Western mindset or a 2019, 21st century mindset. Well, let's talk to somebody who actually, well, let's read from somebody who actually lived in that time. So, and I have it right here, everybody. The book of Josephus, right? But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it out in the open for everybody to see. So let's go here. The book of Josephus. The first one I want to use is the Antiquities of the Jews. We're going to go to book 17. Book 17. We're going to go to chapter 1. We're going to go to section 2. And this is you see the death of Alexander and the Aristobulus to the banishment of Archelaus. So let's go to section 2. And I don't hate these things because they're not actually labeled. So let me find it actually in my book, and then I know what to look for. Let me find it in my personal book. All right, let's go to now Herod. Let's see if we can find it. They might got them separated. Okay, yeah, they do. Now Herod, they just don't got the numbers. So let me find it real fast. All right, here. I think that's it. All right, now right here. He also allowed one of Aristobulus' daughter to Antipater's son, and Aristobulus' other daughter to Herod, a son of his own, who was born to him by the high priest's daughter. For it is the ancient practice among us. This is Jews. For it is the ancient practice among us to have many wives at the same time. Let's make it bigger. This is an actual Jew who lived in Jerusalem in the first century under Roman rulership, but kept his roots. So look what he says. For it is the ancient practice among us to have many wives at the same time. Okay? For it is the ancient practice among us to have many wives at the same time. This is a real Jew saying what they practice in the time of antiquity. So now, when you go to the War of the Jews, right? Let's go to, hold on. Let me find it in my book. All right, it will be book 1, chapter 24, section 2. So we have it right here, section 2 at the end. Okay, let's see. She also frequently reproached Herod's sister and wives, with an S, with the ignobility of their descent, and that there were everyone chosen by him for their beauty, but not for their family. Now those wives of his were not a few. It being of old, look, once again, it being of old, permitted, let me make this a little bigger, just in case. It being of old, permitted to the Jews, permitted to the Jews to marry many wives. So you're trying to tell me that this priest in the 1st century don't know more than you know living in America. You want to tell me that this priest who actually practiced the culture, this priest who actually was there doing the sacrifices, who learned the law of Moses starting at the age of 6 all the way into adulthood. This priest right here, he did not know that the Most High did not want polygyny, but you, an American, who has lost your identity, lost all of the ancient understandings, who had did none of the old covenant, who did nothing that these guys did, you understand and you know what the Most High wants. This priest, he don't know what he's talking about, right? It being of old, permitted to the Jews to marry many wives. For some reason, this guy who followed Moses, who actually did the law, he actually knew that it was permitted to the Jews to marry many wives. But you want to come 2,000 years later in America and try to go to Genesis talking about the Most High don't want people to have more than one wife. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. Let's look at Genesis. No, we don't have to look at Genesis. Culture, history, and all show that you don't know what you're talking about. You are living in the 21st century from the eyes of the Romans and the Greeks trying to say what the Most High permitted, like the Most High came over here to the Western world, like he brought prophets over here, like he did any of that stuff over here. You're supposed to be learning from the people of the old. You're not supposed to be coming up with your own doctrine to try to push something because you feel that it's morally wrong. That's not what you're supposed to be doing with the Bible. You are incorrect. Polygyny has always been allowed. It said it. I done showed you 2 accounts. Give me 1 second. Come in. Come in. Hold on. Come in. All right, well, sorry. So now, hold on. Somebody knocks on my door. 1 second.
I was making sure you got this. I seen him before as a kid.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. I get it. I got you.
I've been on the phone with their support. And maybe my manager knows, so.
Oh, well, I sure.
Make sure you have it.
I sure appreciate it, man. My bad, man. Do I need to sign anything? Oh, man. Good looking out, man. Thank you. Have a good day. So Sorry, y'all, I had a package coming in. Another package from Amazon. Y'all know I've been ordering books and stuff. So I'll open it later. It's another book that I have. Y'all know I love reading and researching. But anyway, so we have it right here. A priest that lived in the 1st century saying that polygyny was okay. So I don't need to hear your American breakdown on scriptures. Because first of all, this guy, he would have had the older Torah. Not the Torah that the Masoretes brought. Not that Torah. He would have had the older Torah. The one that was before, actually around the time of the Septuagint, the time of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and etc. He would have had the whole complete older Torah. He would have understood all of the oral traditions. So I would have to lean more on what this guy is saying, since he knows what he's talking about, than an American or wherever you live in the 21st century trying to say Genesis means no, so you can't do multiple. No, you don't know what you're talking about. That's not what the ancient Israelites thought. That's not what they was taught. That's not what they knew. That's not what their culture was about. So you're an Israelite till it comes to doing something you don't want to do. Now you want to be jealous and get back to the American mindset or the 21st century mindset. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to be Israel. Let's be Israel. So if you don't like polygyny, don't do it. But it's nothing wrong morally with it. And as you can see, it being of old permitted to the Jews to marry many wives. The only one that could permit the Jews to marry many wives was the Most High. Okay? Only the Most High could do that. So now, hopefully, we have a better understanding. So, let's go to another place, okay? Let's go to an Antiquity of the Jews. Let's go back to the Antiquity of the Jews real fast. I want something else. I got to show y'all something else. Since we're here. Since we're in Josephus, right? Let me show y'all something else. Let me show you a little history, okay? Let me show you a little first temple history. Let's see. 2 section 1 and 2. Y'all know I got to find it in my book first. All right, right there. So now it's going to be Antiquity of the Jews, Book 2. So let's go back to the top. Book 2, Chapter 10. Moses made war with Ethiopians. Chapter 10, Section 2. All these are in Section 2. And let's go down to almost the end. I think we can start with Tharbus. Tharbus was the daughter of the king of the Ethiopians. She happened to see Moses as he led the army near the walls and fought with great courage and admiring the subtlety of his undertakings. Right? So let's go down a little bit. When they had before boasted of their great achievements, she fell deeply in love with him, and upon the prevalency of that passion, sent to him the most faithful of all her servants to discourse with him about their marriage. No sooner was the agreement made, but it took effect immediately. And when Moses had cut off the Ethiopians, he gave thanks to God and consummated his marriage, and led the Egyptians back to their own land. This is a little history right here, right? So now let's flip over real fast. So we got Moses getting married, right? So let's flip over real fast to the Ethiopian. So let's flip over. Let's go to Numbers first. Let's go to Numbers. 12, 1 and 2. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married, so this was already happened, an Ethiopian woman. We read in history whom this Ethiopian woman was of royal lineage. But let's read. And they said, how had the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Had he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. So we have right here Moses being married to an Ethiopian woman after the Exodus, right? So now let's go to Exodus 18, 1 through 3. When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel, his people, and the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt, so this is after the Exodus, then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after she had sent her back, and her 2 sons, of which the name one was Gershom, and he said, I have been an alien to a strange land. So we have Moses being married to 2 women at the same time coming out of Egypt after the Exodus. So right here, we have Moses who practiced polygyny. So now y'all want to tell me that Moses, who they said wrote Genesis, wrote that the Most High didn't want polygyny, but then he practiced polygyny himself. This is what y'all are doing with the understanding just because y'all don't like it. This is what happened when you try to Americanize the Bible. So now, what's another thing we want to run to? Let's go to 1 Corinthians, right? Since we're here, let's go to 1 Corinthians 7 and 2. This is what everybody loves going on right here. Hey, everybody loves this. Everybody. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Boy, they go crazy with this one, boy. Look, no polygyny. This is in the New Testament. Paul is talking against polygyny right here. Every man's supposed to have their own woman. You see, it's one man and one woman. Well, let's look at some of these words. It says, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife. So every man. Let's see what this is about right here. What's that? Hakatos. Each or every. Any. Both, each, every. It could be man, woman, or particular. So right here, the word means more of each, not man. They knew it was talking about man down here because down here it said woman. But here, this man, this word man, is not even here. But let's keep reading. Let every, each, have his own. Let's see, what was I at? 7-2. His own. From reflexive pronouns, genitive, him, personal, himself, itself, another, on selves, themselves, and I'm going to put it in the lexicon too. His own wife, a woman, specific, a wife, and let every woman, this is each, every, the same word as this one, this word, and that word, have her own adios husband, right? A man. So I don't like how the way they got it. right here. So I'd rather let's get to the lexicon. I don't like that. That was kind of messed up. So let's lexicon it out. Let me go to Google real fast. Let me try to lexicon this out because I don't like how that is. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, give me 1 sec. Y'all ready done?
Yeah, that's all right.
Sorry, my children just came in. They wasn't supposed to be back until 5. I was supposed to be having another hour or something. So let me try to wrap this up. 1 Corinthians 7:2 from the lexicon. It says, but because of immoralities, each, and look how they got this one, each man, but in the lexicon, they got the same word. You see that? 1538 each, 1538 here. Each is to have his own. Let's look at his own. Pronoun of third person. Himself, herself, itself. Is the third person reflective, singular or plural form, which also function as the reflexive for the first and second person. Word origin from the primitive pronoun he, him, her, genitive, that, or what you call it. Definition: himself, of himself, herself, or itself. And then you have the New American Standard translation. And it could mean oneself, ourselves, on estimation, on initiative, on persons. It can also mean themselves or yourselves. And you go down here, it could be, let's see if they got it down here. I don't know if they got it down here. Well, I don't see it down there. But let's keep going then. Each to have of oneself, a woman, gune. It can mean a woman, a wife, my lady. In the New American Standard, it could be a bride, a wife, a wife's, wives, more than one, woman, womans, or women, more than woman. More than, I said woman, more than one. And let's see what it says here. Universally, a woman of any age, whether a virgin or married or a widow. A wife, right here. All right, so now, each wife is to have, his on. Let's go with, we didn't already look at on. It could be themselves, own self, anyway. Is to have his on. Each woman is to have her own. And this is what I'm trying to get you at right here. This own right here, right? This own could be oneself, one, or dealing with the husband, right? The husband can have his own wife. But listen to how specific this own is for the woman. A woman is to have her own. You would think that her own and his own would be the same word. But let's look at the definition of her own. idios, one's own, distinct, one's own, belonging to one, private, personal, one's own people, one owns family, home or property. You see, this is more specific. One owns a distinct, it's specific about the woman. See, Israelite society, Paul was an Israelite before everything. Israelite society was more based around man. So dealing with marriage and things, women was not allowed to have more than one husband. This is why this on dealing with the woman is more specific than this on dealing with the man. Because the one dealing with the man has you have the possibility of having more than one wife. But the one dealing with the wife, she does not have the possibility of having more than one husband. So her on is very distinct compared to this on. See, this himself. A man can have more than one wife, and all of them would belong to him. It will all be from himself. But a woman could not have more than one husband. It was only distinct to that one individual, which was the man, her husband, man, right there. Right there. It's right there. Once again, let me say it again. A woman, a man in this culture, a man can have more than one wife. This is why the word on from here is different from the word on from here. The English translators knew this in the 1500s. But in order to make it easier, they went on and let it be known the on for possessive. It means possessive. They would have thought that you actually knew the culture beforehand. And if you know the culture beforehand, you will actually know what it's saying. A husband is to have his own wife. No matter if it's one wife or two wives. Once again, once you go here, ganake, it can mean wife, wives, or wives, woman, womans, or women. Okay? The usage is for a woman, a wife, or, my lady. But he can have a wife or wives. It can be used in both of them. You see here, in Matthew 11, the same word is used for women. In Matthew 14, the same word is used for women. Matthew 15, the same word is used for women. Matthew 19, the same word is used for wives. Matthew 9, let me see if there's any more. That was it right there. From what they're given right here. So this same word is used in all of these instances. Sometimes for women, sometimes for a woman, sometimes for wives, sometimes for a wife. So you got to know the culture. The culture was a polygynistic culture. So Paul isn't saying that one person can only be married to one person. He's saying that if a man has a wife or wives, because you got to know the culture, then you got to stay within that parameter. You can't be out here husband and wife swapping, because that was the problem with the Corinthians. The Corinthians were paganistic. They was pagans by nature. They was used to the paganistic practices. One paganistic practice was spouse swapping. Paul was letting it be known that it wasn't cool to be out here spouse swapping while you're trying to get into the kingdom of heaven. You got to let all of that stuff go. Every person is responsible for their own family. You can't be swapping family members that you're married to. This is what Christ was addressing. But here, what's up, boss? It's all good. But here you see him specifically showing the difference between a husband on and a wife's on. Wife goes directly to one man. A husband can go to one woman or more than one woman. And people gonna look at, well, you see the man there could be men too, or it could be a man too. But you got to know the culture. So that would be that for that. And let's see here. Also, where people like going to, let's go to Matthew. And then I'm going to jump off of this one. Then I'm going to open up another one because there's many things I got to address. So let's go to Matthew 9, 8, and 9 real fast. 9, 8, and 9. Oh, that ain't the one I want. Let's try 10. Let's see here. Here we go right here. Mark 10. And Jesus answered and said unto them, for the hardness of your... Oh, okay, here we go right here. Let's start at 1. And he arose from thence and cometh unto the coast of Judea by the farther side of the Jordan. And the people resort unto him again and said, and as he... Sorry, to him again, and as he was wont, he taught them again. And the Pharisees came to him and asked him, is it lawful? Now listen to what they asked. Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife? This is about divorcing. It has nothing to do with polygyny. It has to do with separating. And he answered and said unto them, what did Moses command you? And they said, Moses suffered to write a bill of divorcement. What are they talking about? Divorcement, not polygyny, not marriage, but separation, divorcement, and put her away. And Jesus answered and said unto them, for the hardness of your heart, he wrote you this precept. To show you the precept is not jumping around, it's a commandment. But anyway, but from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. Why? For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. This is about marriage, not polygyny, but marriage. And they twain shall be one flesh, one covenant. So then they are no more twain. They are no more separate individuals, but one flesh. What therefore God had joined together, let no man put asunder. A man should not take apart your relationships that the Most High put together. And in the house his disciples asked him again of the same matter. And he said unto them, whosoever shall put away his wife, once again, this is all about divorcement, and marry another, committed adultery against her. You cannot put your wife away and marry another one, unless it's about sexual immorality, which he says later on. But anyway, and if a woman shall put away her husband and be married to another, she committed adultery. Okay? This is all about divorcement. You had to divorce the right way. Back then, they were just divorcing just because. This is all this is about. Has nothing to do with polygyny. This was about divorcement. People want to get caught up in the words of a wife or stuff like that. Like Christ should be speaking in plurality when he's talking about a specific subject dealing with divorcement. And later on, when they actually asked him about the laws that it was dealing with resurrection, when they asked him, well, what if this woman sleep with 7 brothers, right? Notice it was in the law that if your brother died and his wife was without child, then the brother had to marry her and give her a child. And if she get a child, then the child gets the name of the brother, not the actual father. Notice the law does not say if an unmarried brother, if a brother dies and his wife don't have a child, then an unmarried brother must take him as her wife. It doesn't say an unmarried brother. It says a brother. It did not matter if he was married or not, because the point of it was inheritance. It was to keep the name going on and keep the name going on for an inheritance, because the children of Israel was supposed to always prosper. It did not matter if the brother was married or not. This is what people try to bring on from their 21st century perspective, because they have learned so much from the Grecians and Romans that they hate their culture. So now, let's go back to me, and I have another book. It's called Ancient Rome. Ancient Rome, right here, right? I'm going to read just the first sentence on page 468. It says, like the Greeks, but unlike the early Jews or the Persians, the Romans were always monogamous. What kind of system does the United States have? Do we not have a lot of the Roman system inside of our society? In fact, our society was built upon Roman ideology and the government of the Romans. It's common sense. Everybody knows it. This is history. But if the people that created your laws was monogamous, and you grew up in the same system, do you not think you will be monogamous? Just like if the people that made your laws was polygamous, don't you think that you would have had the option to be polygynous inside that system? See, Rome took it away. Rome made polygyny illegal thousands of years ago. Christianity did the same thing. Said no, because Christianity spread under the influence of the Hellenists, the Hellenistic people, or the Hellenes, or however you want to say it, and as well as the Grecians and the Romans. So everybody in history, I mean, I read the historical sources, let you know that the Jews participated in polygyny. Okay? Josephus, who was a priest, let it be known, and I already read the sources, gave the sources also, that it was permitted for the Jews. Only person who could permit marriage was the Most High. It was permitted for the Jews in order to have more than one wife. It was permitted for the Jews to do that. Then we see that Moses had more than one wife himself. Moses would not have been in polygyny and talking about the Most High did not want this to happen in the beginning. It's just wild what people do in order to make polygyny wrong. They will go and try to go inside of a myth and cut it up and do whatever they can to it in order to take the Israelite culture of being fruitful and multiplying away, because they don't understand themselves how much the Grecian and Roman influence have taken over their understanding and their lives. The only person that's able to tell you what you can and cannot do in marriage is the Most High. The Most High never had his prophets, nor apostles, nor disciples, nor Christ, nor anybody to say polygyny was wrong. The only people that's doing that is people that lived outside of the historical accounts of the Bible. Nobody inside the historical accounts did it. Only people, let me say it again, only the individuals that's living outside of the historical setting outside of the historical laws, outside of the historical understanding, is saying that this practice is wrong. Check the people that's saying it. Check the time period that they live or are living in now. Check the society that they live in. See if the society is more for ancient culture or against ancient culture. Because if modern society is influencing your understanding and ideology on how the Most High wants you to be fruitful and multiply, then you should quit listening to these people. All love to them, but they have no ground to stand on. They are just talking. It was Israel, the nation of Israel was created through polygyny. People would try to run and say, well, look what's happened. Look what was happening. Jacob was tricked. So this and that. And then Jacob's wife gave him another wife. They gave him wives. Jacob could have said no. If the Most High did not want it, the Most High would have told Jacob, do not do this. At any moment in time, the Most High had plenty time to tell every person, do not do this. I do not like it. He did not. The only people that's doing it are you and the people that live outside of the scope of the prophets and the apostles. The people that's foreign, that's away from the culture. Come back to your culture. You don't have to like it. You don't have to participate in it. It's an option. But just know, it is an option. And for my people out there who was part of the baby boomers and who had a tendency to multiply like none other because it's in your DNA, Planned Parenthood, welfare, drugs, gangs, other types of violence, police brutality, mass incarceration, sterilization through vaccines, sterilization through food, and etc. All of the things that was created in order to make you stop populating. Above all, my society, my people, needs it. I am done with this. I'm going to go out, and then I'm going to come back in and discuss the 130s. Okay, then. Shalom.